Hey guys, this is Gene Jensen, and today I find myself on Fall Creek Falls State Park. A super clear lake. I mean, visibility is 10, 12, 15 feet. I don't know, it's deep. But what I'm going to talk about today is how to choose the right color soft plastic or crankbait or hard bait according to the water clarity. So how to choose the colors of your bait. All right, so anytime I get to a new lake, whether it be a new one or one I'm at every day, and then multiple times throughout the day as I move around the lake, I'm always looking at water clarity. I always want to know how far those fish can see to see my bait, and it gives me an idea of exactly what colors to choose. So when you're new at this, the best way that I know of to figure out what the water clarity is to get a white bait, tie it on the end of your rod and let it sink. And when it disappears, you stop your line from going out and you measure the amount of line that was under the water when you stop seeing that bait. And it gives you an idea what the water clarity is. Now, the guidelines are so different depending on who you talk to. You know, 0 to 1 foot or whatever else is clear, muddy. I'm gonna go over my opinion and the way that I see it, okay? Let's start off with clear water. This water here is super clear. You can see 12, 15 feet deep. It's a highland plateau reservoir, so it doesn't get a whole lot of runoff from muddy areas. I mean, the water that's up here is coming out of springs and it's just super clear. So anything 4 foot or deeper, the visibility 4 foot or more, I consider clear, okay? Anything that is 2 to 5 feet, notice I said 5 feet and not 4 feet, 2 to 5 feet is stained. There's always a little gray area in between that, in between the depths where either colors would work, okay? 4 plus is clear, 2 to 5 is stained, 2 being really stained, and then 1 to 3 is murky, and 0 to 1 foot is muddy. So that's kind of how I look at it, and that really does determine the color of lures that you choose that the bass can pick up on and then that they can eat. I'll give you for instance, I was fishing a tournament years ago. It was an afternoon or an evening tournament, and I had been prior to that, I've been just whacking them on a shaky head, green pumpkin shaky head finesse worm, and I couldn't get bit, and I couldn't get bit. And I knew the fish were there. I just knew they were there, and all of a sudden I noticed. I said, man, the watercolor was a different color today than it was yesterday. And the watercolor was exactly the same color as that green pumpkin worm. And I'm like, no wonder the fish can't see it. The freaking worm is camouflaged. So I changed over to a June bug and red worm, threw it in there, and started catching fish. The visibility had changed. It had gone from being stained to a little heavy stained, even muddy. And it was more of a heavy stain. And it really did change whether the bass could see that green pumpkin worm. And green pumpkin is my go-to color. So a huge learning experience back then for me is to always pay attention to the difference in the water clarity. All right, so let's talk about let's go over the different clarities and what actual colors or what types of colors I would use during those clarities. Start off with clear. Clear is all about natural colors. The bass can see really well. They're going to get a good look at your bait. You want it to look as natural as you possibly can. And a good rule of thumb is that if you can hold that worm or that soft plastic up to the sun or up to the sky and see the light through the worm, it's good for clear water. So clear baits, clear water, natural colors like watermelon. Green pumpkin works in probably just about most any color except for muddy. So green pumpkin, red bug works really well. Just a lot of different really clear see-through colors. Black will work in just about anything. Brown will work. Just make sure that they're natural colors. As hard baits like jerk baits and crank baits, same thing. I like the clearest bait that I can get. If I can hold it up and see the light through it, I'm going to use it. Why? Because the bass can't get a good look at it. The clearer the better. When the water is super clear, I fish clear baits. I fish clear Super Spook Juniors, clear poppers, just something that they can't get a good look at it. If they're all the way super clear, put a red hook on the front and you'll see a huge difference. I'm not a huge proponent of red hooks, except for in that situation. There are some exceptions. Bright colors like methylate and Junebug, no, methylate and bubblegum, and those bright trickworm colors work really good in clear water in the summertime when the bluegill are shallow and spawning and the bass are shallow and eating them. You throw it up into the bank and you jerk it out like you would a jerk bait, and you watch fish come unglued. But that's just certain situations where that happens. All right, stained water, that 2 to 5 foot range. That's what I'm gonna go with, colors that aren't clear but are still somewhat natural. The green pumpkins, the blacks, the June bugs, just natural colors that when you hold up to the light, you can't see anything through. So, man, I can't even think of the colors off the top of my head, but your colors get more and more limited when you get, further and further stained water. With jerk baits and spinnerbait, or jerk baits and crankbaits, I'm always gonna go with the solid colors that are still natural looking, still shad colors, but the solid colors, like sexy shad or chartreuse sexy shad, anything like that. Once again, something you hold up, you don't see the light through. Now, one thing to remember is the sun, or what the sun has to do with things. When it's sunny, whether it's clear water, whether it's stained water, whether it's murky water, I'm going to use something that has some shiny flake to it. A green pumpkin candy or green pumpkin with red flake, something that has a little bit of flash is excellent. But any of your soft plastic colors that you choose, if it's sunny, make sure there's a little bit of flake in there. And for your hard baits, when it's sunny, use something that's got a little bit of flash in it. If it's cloudy, don't use anything that has flash in it. Use something that's like gold or just a solid color, like I said, with no chrome in it. Now, as you get into murky for me, I really consider murky water, that 1 to 3 foot range, fairly muddy, okay? Heavy stained is what I call it, but a lot of people call it murky, so that's why I'm telling you that. And I go to the darker colors. My color choices are a lot more limited. I use the black and blues, I use the blacks, the green pumpkins, that's about it, really. I mean, maybe the bright colors with spinnerbaits and jerkbait, or spinnerbaits and crankbaits. I'm going with more chartreuses, more bright colors. Especially on those sunny days, they can really pick up on those bright colors really well. It really does make a difference. And then when you get into that muddy water, the bass gets shallow. I've made a video about that just recently. The bass get shallow, they get into shallow cover, they get real tight to it, and I go with strictly, you're trying to scare the crap out of them, trying to get it really close to their mouth so their strike zone is really small. So you're trying to get super close to their mouth with the bait. So you're making multiple casts, and I get really limited. I go black and blue, I go black and purple, I go mostly flipping baits, and then if I'm going to throw something that's a moving bait like a spinner bait, it's going to be a bright color, a chartreuse with big blades that make a lot of noise, a lot of vibration. Color really doesn't make a huge difference, but I learned the hard way, do not go with natural colors. Get with those dark colors or those really bright colors, and the bass seem to be able to pick up on them better, especially if they've got some vibration to them, and it makes choosing lures really easy, just because they're shallow and they can't see very far. So you're limited, and you just make multiple casts to that bait. But those are my guidelines. Okay, there are many colors out there to choose from, but if you stick to the guidelines of clear baits or see-through baits with natural colors for clear water, natural colors that you can't see through for stained water, you get up into that murky or that darker water, just get darker colors. Bright colors work throughout. Green pumpkin works most of those until you get into that heavy stained, and you'll be set, man. It's not rocket science. It's just a matter of looking at your conditions and always noticing what your watercolor is and your water clarity. And like I said, I do that throughout the day as I'm moving around the lake. Water clarity in the back of a creek may be different than what's in the front of the creek. Now, before I go, be sure to check out my new website, flukemaster.com. Be sure to tune in every Friday night at 9 o'clock Eastern for my YouTube, what I call them, Friday Night Lives. But like I always say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing. Introduce them to my channel. Let me help you teach them how to fish. More importantly, get out on the water, go out and catch some fish, and have a great day. We'll see you.